Hey everyone, welcome to LimitLess Radiocast, episode 67. Thank you guys for joining us. Chad and I have been away for a while, having some amazing family vacation time. Now we're back, bringing you great content each and every week, hanging out with the amazing John Combs today. So turn up that volume, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. The show is being brought to you by Hoist IV Level Hydration. Everyone, you guys got to check this out. They're an amazing product. Chad and I drink this product, and I will tell you what, it has by far beat every sports drink I personally have ever tried. 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks. It's half the sugar of traditional. No high fructose corn syrup, no artificial preservatives, sweeteners, or dyes. It's BPA-free, kosher, made in the United States of America, and there are 6 delicious flavors. This stuff is amazing. You guys need to go out there and check it out. Limitless 10 at checkout for a discount. Check them out. Also, we want to thank our other sponsors, and we ask all you guys to go out there and thank them as well. Magic City Brewing Company, Red Tail Tattoo Company, Candry Law, M&H Beans, Coffee Supply, Gateway Dental Care, Thomas Webb of DeHoff Realtors. Also, you guys need some fight gear, some gis, some stuff to get out there and get you on the mat? Well, you need to go out there and check out Lanky Fight Gear, Limitless 20 at checkout for a discount. Also, go out and check out the amazing products from Lashley Nutrition. They're amazing products. They can get you protein, creatine, anything you need. Plant-based, great products, great people. Check them out. Also, want to improve your jiu-jitsu? Go out and check out BJJ Foundation. Limitless 25 at checkout for a discount for all kinds of instructionals, DVDs, and great information from the amazing James Klingerman. Check them out. Hey, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the show. Chad and I have been off for a few weeks enjoying some family vacations, both of us. And so now we're back at it and we are hanging out with the amazing John Combs. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under Amal Easton. If I didn't pronounce that correct, John can correct me. He was a standout college wrestler. Or I say he's a standout because anyone who wrestles at a collegiate level it's not easy, man. It's very hard. And actually, you know what? He just competed last night and he's won at the highest level across the board. It's really an honor for Chad and I to have this opportunity to sit down and hang out with John and just talk Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu life in general. So John, thanks so much, man, for hanging out with us. We appreciate it very much.
Heck yeah, Terry. Glad to be here, man.
Thank you.
With you guys.
Yeah, for sure. And as I alluded to, everyone, so John just competed last night and he's coming on the show with us. And so how you feeling today, man?
I feel good. A little sore. My jaw hurts a little bit too. I had 2 really good matches. I got a Kimura in the first, and then the second one went to OT, but I got a strangle in the first period, and then I escaped, so I won that one. And then I drew Barsh, and, I had a pretty good match against him. My dad told me he watched it and said I looked pretty good, but, I got outfoxed in the hand fight, and he managed to put me down in turtle, and then he got a really good position, and we had to reset in that, and then he eventually got like a little face crush. And after he locked his hands, I was there like, yeah, I can take this. It's not so bad. And then my jaw starts popping. And I'm like, okay. So, but it was good performance. I got to utilize a lot of stuff I've been working on. And, losing sucks. But, that's a big part of why we go compete, see where we got to improve. And feel like I got a lot of good stuff going.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome, though, man. Because, your perspective of, and I would say a lot of competitors are this way when they talk about it and after the fact, it's like, what you have to work on, you have a plan, you go in, you do what you got to do, but there's unfortunate situations, and that's what we do when we get on the mats. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's every situation is not going to be to you want it to be, but it's not always going to be in your success rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something, Chad. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say was that your first competition in a while, John?
Yeah, I got a pretty bad arm injury at EBI. And then I did the ADCC's the trials a few weeks after that. Okay. And wasn't really the greatest performance. I still had a few good matches, but my right arm's been banged up, so I've took quite a bit of time off, and it's way better now. I didn't even feel it when I was competing yesterday. I'm probably still going to keep taping it probably until September, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I hadn't really been doing a whole lot. Last weekend I did a super fight in Palmetto, where I live in Florida. And then I did this competition, and then I got another super fight August 7th. So not this weekend, but the one after it. I'll have another match. And yeah, looking forward to getting back after it, man. Definitely you got to give your body appropriate time to heal. And that's a really frustrating thing to do. But most of the time when you get injuries, just because the pain goes away doesn't mean the healing has stopped. In many cases, like just because the pain's gone, the healing still has weeks to go. So, I've definitely had to exercise a lot of patience with this to make sure I don't re-cripple my right arm, but it's feeling a lot better now, man. I'm definitely, excited to keep going after it and get back out there in more competitions.
Was it, and I'm sure, training up to this, you already knew like your limits and what you could do with that arm and whatever. Is there any kind of ever like, I've never experienced a super major injury. I'm a late jujitsu practitioner anyway. Is there like, a little bit in your head when you get into those like major fight, you know what I mean? Like people that compete versus a hobbyist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Versus going like, everyone that competes and has only competed their first time, they go, man, that's a fight. Like that's legit. You know what I mean? Like, was there anything in your head that like, hey, I got to protect my arm, or was just like, nah, I'm good. I can go after it.
Yeah, a little bit, definitely like a few weeks after the injury, the ADCCs, that sucked. I felt every moment I was using my arm, but like nowadays, no. I mean, the one thing that did concern me, and I bet it won't be an issue in like a month or two from now, is my bicep on this side is still a little sore. So like if it had been EBI overtime and somebody took an arm bar on my right arm, that'd probably be a bit of an unfair advantage. So if somebody's listening, maybe take some notes on that. But that was really the only concern, is that like somebody would pick the arm bar on that side and just squeeze my arm really hard, like
sure.
my arm, and that would have been like, okay, I'm done,
I'm out.
But I bet it'll continue to heal. And, it's just these injuries take time. You do significant damage to a ligament or a tendon. It's just going to take a lot of time. It's funny. Bones heal faster than ligaments.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's hard to get people to understand that. I think we're doing a better job to teach, let's say, younger generation competitors in contact sports, even in wrestling. When I say contact sports, wrestling's the same thing, because, you've been there, you've already done this, and we've talked about it on the show before. You're engaged into that physical pull on ligaments and body parts. A bone can snap, but a bone will heal, but all the ligaments around it take a very long time to get back to where they need to be. And we're teaching our younger generation not to go maybe as hard all the time. And I'm sure you started 2007 is really kind of when you started.
Yeah. I mean, I started wrestling in 2005, but I dabbled in jiu-jitsu in 2007. That's when I started.
I always ask guys who wrestled. I wrestled a little bit when I was in junior high. And how hard was it a transition, or was there a confusing part? Like, oh crap, that's wrestling. Oh, this is jiu-jitsu.
It took about 4 years. I mean, one of my favorite stories is, I'm an All-American in the NCAA. So I got fourth place in 2011. And I was actually getting pinned in the quarters, and this guy had stepped over to mount with a half Nelson, and I used a buck and roll to sweep him, and then I actually pinned him from there. So it was kind of funny that my study of jiu-jitsu actually led to one of my highest accolades in wrestling.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So definitely jiu-jitsu helped. They both helped out, but it took me 4 years to really make the transition. So in 2012. I stopped wrestling. I had my last national tournament. In 2011, I was All-American. 2012, like a couple D1 schools dropped the club, and I got beaten the blood round by a former D1 wrestler. It was a rough tournament, but jumped in and did Pan Ams a couple weeks after that, and then got my first piece of cauliflower ear at that event, and just kept going. Yeah. But it took about 4 years to really transition, the necessary skills and feel comfortable on my back. And I, didn't really get any strong guard game developed, but I got a really good front headlock in that time. Sure. And, I probably was over relying on that particular attack and not putting the necessary time and effort into learning my escapes, which is something I spent like a lot of time at black belt having to go back and do, is relearn my escapes and form that nice foundation. Cause it is kind of funny. You can do really, really well in competition if you can pass guard and very hard to sweep. And, that's really all you need. As long as nobody can sweep you and you can pass somebody's guard, you can do all right in competition. Sure. You don't really need to know all the ins and outs of it. But if you want to be an elite level athlete, you need to have the confidence in your defensive skills to feel safe going in for offense. Like yesterday when I was going for a Kimura, like I felt fine. On several instances, I was going for a submission and he got out of it. So even though it was like EBI, no points, I was still hunting and trying to get those submissions. Sure. And feeling too bad about rolling out, and always looking for the attack.
Yeah, that's like just hearing you say it. And that's what I've heard from a lot of other people in that. And the one thing that transitioned for me, even though it was, 30 years after I wrestled, was like base, like strong, keeping that strong, solid base. But then I wanted to get like people in turtle and like get on their back. I didn't know what I was doing. It was more like side control back, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I started doing like, the softing under their belly and like breaking the elbow down. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't anything, but I feel really good here.
It works. I mean, you can still make it work, right? I mean,
right. And I did, until then I was like, oh, I have to do this and this and this. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I will say I've definitely changed like my thought process on attacking turtle like a lot recently. Like and Gordon talks about it in his Pillars of Escape DVD. But that if you're fighting somebody from turtle, I would consider it like almost as good as open guard, like seated or supine, where you're laying on your shoulders or seated. Like it's still a really combat effective position. So you don't want to see that as, oh boy, he's in turtle, let me get my hooks in. It's like, no. We're going to try to knock him flat. We're either going to knock him to his hip or his shoulder. And if he stops us from doing that, he's probably going to open himself up to a grip with one of our legs. But we don't want to just throw legs in. We want to focus on knocking them to a hip. And then once they're in an unathletic position, then we can start advancing our attacks. But somebody in turtle is actually in a really strong athletic position. And, you shouldn't see that as a easy opportunity for the back. You want to put them into a disadvantageous, unathletic position and then start looking for your advantages.
Yeah, for sure. And that makes total sense because in my young jiu-jitsu career, whatever journey, let's put it in journey terms. It's like, it is kind of intimidating when you have someone in turtle and you're not confident or understand completely what to do next. It's like, oh, there is a ton of stuff to do here, but like stuff that's outside of my brain. So I'm like, oh, what do I do here? Do I try to break them down or get them flat on their face and then try to get that side mount or whatever? So that makes sense. Like John hearing you say it that way for sure, man.
Because a lot of people use that turtle just straight defense, right? And just kind of stall you out because they can tuck their chin and kind of be safe there until you can, like you said, John, bump them to a hip or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There are a lot of ways you can set grips on them and funny ways you can like knock them down to their hips and even like a double crotch pry, like taking both your hands and going inside their thighs and using
and pressing down on it. Yeah,
because you want to get their weight on their hands. They want to keep their weight on their legs, but if you can drive them forward, that can leave them open to different attacks. So, but yeah, more attacking their posture first before looking for opportunities to set grips with your legs, folks.
Yeah,
man. John, how much do you get to teach? Do you get a good opportunity to teach quite a lot?
Yeah. Since I moved to Palmetto at the beginning of June, I've taught a few seminars out that way. And my friend Josh Leduc, who I train with at North River in Palmetto, I teach at that school every now and then.
Nice.
But I had a really good morning routine going. I'm going to get back into it after this, competition's done. Let myself off the hook this morning. I was kind of lazy, but I try to work in, a little bit of reading, looking at the sunrise, a little bit of exercise, and then at least 15 to 20 minutes of studying, some manner of instructional in the morning.
Nice.
And then, starting up from there. But I've been super consistent on it. So I've been absorbing a lot of really high quality information.
Good. That's very good. I can tell just by the way you're talking, and I'm like, there's some other passion in here. There's like, it's not just competing. Like you want to give this knowledge to other people. You want to learn as much as you can and pay this forward. And I can tell just by why you're talking, which is awesome because, in this world, you don't get any better. Just in general, you're going to get better, obviously, on your own and what you're putting into, but those around you are going to make you better, but then paying it forward or trying to give what I've learned or what you've learned or whatever. Like tell Chad all the time, so it's like, I praise him every day. He's my coach. So he is my coach.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So we tell everyone on the show, it's like, I'm the student. He's the coach. He's just a few years older than me though. So he tripod sweeps me like 99% of the time, which I didn't get to roll last week to try my new defense to this since I know how to defend it a little bit now. So not that I didn't before. I just wasn't going.
Hey, so. Yeah. That's what you don't, I don't think people don't think with people that instructors that like, that's my go-to open guard sweep. I love the tripod sweep. Right.
Heck yeah.
But I hit a lot of my students with it, but they're getting so good at defending it. So now I got to take it to that next step. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's not like you have to have all these high ranks to roll with either. It's, the lower ranks can help you too.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
And we were talking, John was talking about reading. So Terry, he's the reason I bought that earthing book.
Oh, really?
Heck yeah, bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you were on BJJ Fanatics, and I listen to that. I listen to podcasts all the time when I'm outside doing push-ups, cleaning, doing dishes, whatever, Yeah. And as soon as you mentioned that book, I paused the podcast. I went on Amazon, looked it up, and bought it.
Nice. Heck yeah, man. Yeah.
And which is
a lot of that stuff.
Which is crazy. My girlfriend is huge into that, earthing, bare feet, all that stuff. Yeah. And she's like, "You bought a book?" Like, it's out of my nature to just go buy a book, Yeah. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm digging it, and I try to get outside a little bit more. Being at the beach. Yeah. I think that's the ultimate earthing. I think they said is being at the beach in the sand and the water.
Yeah, all the charges.
Charges. Yeah. So it's interesting. Some of those examples they give in that book.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's funny. I was just mentioning to Chad like that, like he got to experience this week. So I was in Hilton Head Island a week before he left. And I did that. Like, we took 2 of our dogs with us, and my oldest son and I went to the beach 7:30 in the morning every day. Walked on the beach, just felt that sand, let the dogs run. It was like so joyous and so energizing, and just watching the waves and stuff. And I was like, yeah. Now I have the book on tape because I work so I'm an engineer by trade. So I draw on the computer all day. Mm-hmm. And so I'll do podcast or a book on tape and like sit here at my desk and just work all day and listen to it. So my reading time has diminished since the whatever we're calling the pandemic stuff. So it's diminished. Yeah. I listen to a lot, try to absorb as much as I can that way. But the book is cool, which Chad turned me on to it, and I didn't know that he heard it from you. So that's awesome. So I'm assuming like this is a book that you're really enjoying then.
Yeah. I got into that late 2020.
Nice.
I had really bad lower back and hip injury, and then I had a rib injury, and I was my back was hurting too, upper back, and I was looking for different ways to try and heal my body, and discovered that, and started doing a lot of the barefoot stuff. And it's a very sub-perceptible change. Like when you're at the beach, you can kind of notice it, but
sure.
It's one of these things that takes very little effort from you, and if you just do it once, it'll probably have a small effect. But if you're consistently doing it every day, I think the goal is to get like 30 minutes a day, and that can start to really build up a really good effect in your body. Just in small little changes. It's like the positive charges accumulate, and you need to get rid of them. And it's very, very, very interesting how our bodies were always in contact with the earth until we started putting rubber soles on our shoes, and then a lot of bad health effects. Like in the book, they talk about that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. You don't think, like, I grew up in the country. And I remember running around gravel in my bare feet, right? How tough you were. And as we get older, and like, I was joking. I don't anymore. I've been trying to get better at this. I sleep with socks on. Yeah. Like, I don't know if it's an Ohio thing. I'm always cold and, but I'm just trying to get back to that, being in touch a little bit more,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something we take for granted.
Right. And I'm opposite. My wife's always yelling at me, "Will you please put socks on?" Are we going? Do I need to wear socks? It's always funny. Went to a wedding however long ago, a couple weeks ago, or it was more than that. But she's like, "Are you going to wear socks with those shoes?" And I was like, "Do I have to?" And she was like, "I would like you to." And I'm like, "Okay." So I do. Yeah. Then I will. Yeah. Because I used to run barefoot.
Oh man.
Like I wore a shoe called Vibrams, but they're just that real thin rubber. And probably 5 years I ran in them, which was a huge transition period because there's that stretch on your Achilles tendon and your calf muscle because there's no drop. It's just so once you get through it, you're fine, but it's probably one of the best, strongest running I've ever had. In strength of my legs and just ability. And then, I quit doing it and started running the regular shoes, and I haven't gone back. I walk around barefoot all the time. But anyway, Chad, go ahead. Sorry, I derailed.
No, that's okay. I want to get back to we talked about injury a little bit, taking time off. Do you have any trouble mentally dealing with that? So we've talked to people in the past, all of us train for many reasons, but the main reason is we love it. It kind of takes us out of the everyday world. Things you might be dealing with when you step on the mats, all that stuff goes away. And I've talked to friends that compete a lot or do jiu-jitsu a lot, and they just keep training and getting more hurt because they don't want to take that time off because that's their release. And then it starts messing with their mental health a little bit. Do you get any of that? Like,
oh yeah. I definitely get depressed if I can't train, but you got to measure the pros and the cons, like, I often see like live training as sort of the reward for, most people see it as the main course, but, I think there's way more that we could be doing. Like, I mean, shoot, like most academies, dude, when I got my purple belt, I would show up after the technique portion. Like I would show up 45 minutes into class and I wouldn't do the technique. I would just train. And I think that's probably 80 to 90% of people that do our sport do it that way, where, after they get their white, blue belt, they're like, I don't need to learn anything more. I'm just going to train. And, I think that you're missing out on a lot of development there, especially nowadays, because we live in the sea of information. And, I think the most difficult part of it is trying to pierce out what information actually is valuable for you and then trying to study and absorb that. And that's a big part of what I've been focused on recently, just trying to pull in the right information for me. And but it is difficult when there's infinite information. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Which now, and that's what we joke about this, because I started when I was 41 years old. And so we joke, it's like I have everything at my fingertips. And like when Chad and you started, there wasn't a whole lot. And I know you're young, John, but you still didn't get an opportunity to have a lot of there wasn't a lot of internet in terms of looking up stuff, or, Gordon wasn't putting out, some fantastic, DVDs and BJJ Fanatics didn't exist and all that kind of stuff, to where our information now is so much. It can almost be overwhelming. So you do have to navigate like what you're going to do or what your game's going to go to, or even hobbyists like myself. It's like, well, you don't need to learn all these tricks or have to do all this. You should probably learn how to do what fits into your game, and then the real good basics in jiu-jitsu. I'm never going to compete at a high level, but like someone like yourself, you're always wanting to learn or see the evolution of it. I
always tell my guys, John, I don't know what you think, especially starting out white belt, I don't think you can watch enough jiu-jitsu matches, like live stuff. Sometimes instructionals is a little hard to watch when you're new, because you don't know what you're missing, or that little detail that maybe they didn't explain. Because Terry will catch me on that. He always asks questions. We laugh about it, but he's like, hey, why are you putting your hand there? I'm like, I don't know. Why am I putting my hand there? But that's stuff that you're not going to catch in a DVD. So I always try to get my guys to watch a lot of matches. Recognize things. Oh, hey, he's got this, or he's transitioning to this. So I like watching a lot of live matches.
I'm not quite as consistent on that front as I am with the instructionals, which I should change. Probably every other morning I should do some instructional study, and then the next day I should do some film study.
And that's where I'm sorry, John. That's where I took my jiu-jitsu pretty early on, was going, I'm not going to do well with instructionals, because I know my mindset and I know where it's at. It's not that everyone that does instructionals is fantastic, and I love every bit of it, but it was live matches for me. It was like, watch it. And because we live in the technology area that we can't, or era that we are, I could pause it and then rewind it a little bit or whatever. I'm on Flow Grappling and I'm watching every fight to win, or, you're competing last night. If it's an ability for me to get it on my phone or whatever, I'm watching it and maybe pausing it and going, oh, that's what he did, or that's where his hands are, that's where his feet are, that's kind of how I started doing it, which, Chad told me right in the beginning, two things, privates with your coach and watch as many matches.
Well, Well, I can explain that too. I had a white belt during the pandemic. Well, no, it was right after the pandemic, when we opened back up. Said, hey, what instructional would you recommend for a white belt? I'm like, well, there's a lot of them out there, but again, we joke about, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So what do you buy? So I and it's not just because I'm the instructor, that has nothing to do with it. But I think wherever you're at, get private lessons with your instructor, because he's going to know your game better at the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus buying some expensive instructional right off the rip and have no clue what you're looking at.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely, man. That's a great point.
Was there for you? Okay. I always talk about this, Chad, and I asked you this before. When you hit black belt, when black belt was the day came, and it was, did you know, by the way? Did you know what was going to happen? John?
Yeah. I probably shouldn't say that, but
I always ask everyone this just because. So you knew it was going to. you didn't know it was going to come. It was a surprise.
Yeah. There you go. Yep.
Yeah. So it was a big surprise. But when you got it and you absorbed it and you're like, wow, I hit this platform, where you like, okay, this is like a new starting point. Like everyone kind of explains it to me sometimes. They're like, hey, every belt I've ever gotten, I kind of looked at it as a new platform. And then guys, and I have Chad this and every other black belt that I've ever talked to, when you got your black belt, was it like, all right, I'm starting over. There's a whole new learning era because I'm going to learn or digest things differently. How was that for you?
I mean, I was probably, so when I got my black belt, I was in the midst of doing a really good competitive stretch. Like
right.
2016 was probably one of the best years I've had. Despite it being 8 years ago, it was competitively. I did a lot of crazy stuff, like went to Abu Dhabi, Guatemala, Argentina. Like I got to go around and travel a lot. So right at the beginning of my black belt, I had all this initial success, and that kind of gave me an elevated sense of confidence in my game. And the thirst I have for knowledge and trying to uncover new things right now was not with me at black belt. It was much more just about me proving how tough I was to everyone else, and just very little technical training, just showing up and training hard, 2 or 3 or 4 times a day, and made me tough. And I had some good matches, but ultimately at the end of that year, I lost to DJ for the Fight to Win Pro title, and that. I do a few other matches, and then come 2017, I got really badly injured to my back, and then that took me out for about 6 months. And once I came back from that, I started to study a bit more, and then mid 2018 is when BJJ Fanatic started, and I studied some of the John Danaher systems, and that really helped kick up my game and filled me with some thirst for knowledge. And wasn't always as consistent as I would like, but I did study quite a bit from about 2019 until recently, and definitely recently over the past like 2 months, I've been the most consistent I have in the past 4 or 5 years. So
awesome.
Really excited where I'm at now. Yeah.
No, that's good for you, man. Cause you, look, everyone in life, we walk these paths, and we're projected, and sometimes things bump us off of that or change direction, and things happen. And then you navigate back around where you want to be, what you're doing right now. And you had success through that entire point. So don't sell yourself short. I'm glad to hear that you're doing what you want to do, and that you're being consistent, and it's a matter of just doing it, waking up and going, okay, I don't really want to do this today, but I'm going to do it anyway, So you've been there, like you understand the process of what we go through day to day in our lives, not only just in jiu-jitsu, but just in life in general. Like I tell people all the time, like, why do you want to do jiu-jitsu? You're so old. Like, I'm not so old, but I will get that. Like, you're old. You don't need to do this. And I'm like, yes, I do. I'm all about defending myself, and I like it. And I've always been that way. I'm an aggressive person kind of, and by nature. So
I think the most we'll call it normal people have an idea that you're supposed to stop doing hard or athletic things when you get to a certain age, right? Mm-hmm. Like I grew up in the 80s doing karate, and I didn't find jiu-jitsu until I was 29 years old. Mm-hmm. And, I had family members like, man, you're still doing this at your age. I'm like, I'm 29. Like, I'm not old. You know what I mean? So I think when you get out of high school and you get older and have a family and stuff, people just think you should stop doing things.
Yeah.
It's a weird, I think it's weird for us to think that we're probably the outcast, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'll be 47 in 2 months, and I'm not going to stop, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So
just train smarter.
Yeah, exactly.
Just train smarter. That's
absolutely.
Drink a lot of water.
Yeah. As much as I wanted to train when I was in North Carolina, it's like, that's obviously family time, but I use that time to relax too and just rest.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Is there sometimes, John, for you, is there points where you're like, no, I'm not training just because I need to chill or I want to relax? I know you alluded to that, and I think it was before we started the show a little bit about taking those rest times and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, especially I got another really bad injury in September of last year, a really bad neck injury, like really bad. Like I ate an elbow when I was training, and whipped my head that way, and still kept training for 30 minutes. But after I was done training, I went back to the locker room, and I kept dropping my phone. And then I couldn't tie my shoes.
Oh, man.
My 3 fingers here were numb because I'd gotten a neck nerve injury. And then I got in my car with my buddy Freddie, and we started driving we started driving, and then I stopped being able to form words. Like,
oh,
I was
dang.
like,
Oh man, dude.
Yeah. And, yeah, got a CT scan, showed everything was fine, but that I'm still recovering from that. Like, if I'd been using my stinking iron neck over there, back in September every day, I would have just shrugged it right off. But, that was not a great time for me. I wasn't training consistently. My body really wasn't ready to take that hit. And, yeah, it's taken a long time to recover from that. So when I initially moved to Detroit after Jersey in September, it took me months to get back to a point where I was even training. And, it wasn't until about Christmas time that I was actually able to consistently train again. And then, had some things go down there, ended up leaving. And then, where I ended up next, in the Panhandle in Florida, it was pretty hard to get my stuff going there too. So, honestly, man, over the past year, I haven't really had a consistent stretch of good training time. It's been one thing to another thing to another thing to another thing. So, it's been a little disappointing. Now that I'm actually healthy and I'm back in Florida, and I'm in a good place, I can keep training. I'm definitely going to be hitting as hard as I can. But I've definitely been in large stretches of time over this past year where I've had to, put the training aside and just focus on trying to heal my body.
Which is, it's not a bad thing, man. You're doing the smart thing. You're doing what, as Chad alluded to, maybe some people aren't doing that and they should be. We've talked about it all the time, like some of the best athletes in the world, either they do it or they don't. And you can always tell when they don't, because the progress and the succession after that, or later on down the road, they continuously, whether they're doing well or not, you can see it. Athletes watch athletes. And when we see this, you can see it, whether they're performing or whatever. And it's like, they're not 100%, man. They're not taking the time. And, sometimes it gets in your brain. It's easier for me to say it as I sit here, but it's like, I would do the same thing. I'm gonna train as hard as I can. I don't care how bad I'm hurt. Like, I remember my younger days, people were like, you're nuts. It's like, no, I don't care. Like, I'm fine. I'm going to keep going, keep doing this, keep running, keep lifting, keep doing all this, Now I'm like, forget it. I'm okay.
I remember we had JT Torres in for a seminar. I don't know. It was before he won the two ADCC things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, 2014, we'll say. And he took questions at the end of the seminar, and somebody asked him, well, what's the most important thing about your training? Blah, blah, blah. And, we're all waiting for this crazy, complicated answer. And he said, rest. Yeah. Rest is the most important part of my training, when I take time off and when I don't,
Yeah.
So
you actually get better when you rest too, because when you start letting your body, heal the proper way and feed it the proper nutrients that it needs to be fed the proper way. And, you're just not taxing yourself so much. And, high-end athletes, like John, I consider you a high-end athlete, man. You're competing at the highest level. You don't always know that right away. And you're not going to listen to always people telling you, because let's be honest, in a combat sport, we're a little stubborn. You know what I mean? So you don't want to listen to that stuff all the time. And then you figure it out for yourself. And you're like, oh crap. I should have done this a while ago, but it's okay. Shh. So it's good, man. I'm glad you're at where you're at, and that you're still, going like you're young. You have a ton of high level competitions in you.
Yeah.
Did you like go ahead? I'm sorry.
Well, what rule set do you prefer? Do you care?
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Yeah, I was going to be like, so last night you kept alluding to the EBI rules. Yeah. So I always ask that. Chad got me. It's good. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely ADCC rules, the half submission only, and then the points period after if there's no sub. Problem with that though is you need a ref that you really knows what they're doing. And I mean, dude, these ADCC refs are probably about as qualified and well trained as you can be, and they even make mistakes. So what's your Joe Schmo purple belt is he gonna be able to do it? Probably not. And then the IBJJF rule system is okay, but I'm not a huge fan of that. And I definitely do prefer how the ADCCs are scored. And, that would probably be my favorite rule set. And the EBI is cool. I really do like the having no ref, but, and I'm pretty good at back escapes and attacking the back. I did well in that area last night, but, I wish there was a different way we could settle it than just, let's put you in one of the worst positions in the sport and see if you can get out. But,
well, and I think for what it's changed from where it started. Now people just want to get to overtime. Right. Yeah. They just kind of stall until you can get to overtime, so you can get to your good spots, instead of forcing that. And, I don't want to get to overtime. Let's end it when we can. I don't know how you fix that. I'm a fan of shorter match times versus longer ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially for like, we've talked about who's number one in these no-gi matches that go 20 minutes. And the more you sweat, the slipper you get, it's not going to end, it's not going to end with a submission.
Yeah.
And, we can talk about that who's next finale, that 2-hour match.
I was going to say, that they moved to another match.
Yeah, they did.
Long.
There was no communication on that either. Like they just told, all right, you guys got to move. We got to make room for the king.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was crazy. Yeah.
I was wondering if like Gordon went to somebody and was like, hey man, we got to move this along.
Not a good idea to have like no time limit match on a card. Like
not on a card.
Fight, it makes sense. Like, I had that happen when I fought Pedro Marino back in 2020. Tackett, and I think it was Damian Anderson. I forget who it was. It was two guys. Definitely medium Tackett, Andrew Tackett, and somebody else. And they fought for like 55 minutes. And I was sitting there like, oh my God, I got to fight this goddamn Hulk. Like, when am I going to go out? When am I going to go? Oh God, it was like crazy. It was a 55-minute match, but eventually.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know when to start warming up, when to that's a whole different, and you're right, for a card, that is not a good move.
But. Yeah. Especially if you're the guy fighting after the card, it sucks because you just don't know when.
John's like, come on, man. Like, what do I go out to dinner now or what? Do I come back? Like, what do you want me to do?
Say that, that match was different than I expected. I thought Chambers would push it a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly thought Chambers had a pretty good chance. I know Isaac's great, but I did think there'd be a bit more action from him. But yeah, like you're saying, he was trying to chill out and just wear him down.
Yeah. Crazy.
That's what I noticed too, watching that match. And, I don't know Adam for me when it comes to like high level jujitsu. I mean, let's be honest. I'm a 4-stripe white belt for everybody out there that's listening that Terry doesn't know anything. So you can bash me all you want, but that was me. I was like, wow, like they're chilling a lot. Like, why are they chilling so much? Like, wouldn't you, like, you've already been here so long. Why don't you just want to go and get it over with? Or you're tired, which would be me. I mean, like, that's now. I'm like, crap, I'm tired, so, but I mean, Jeff Glover had a great post on Instagram and gave like what he thought his would be, like 7-minute matches type deal. And there was some other stuff down in there. So it was interesting. Yeah, I don't know. John, what do you think about the new IBJJF rule to where no compete, or they have to compete? What the heck?
Closeouts.
No closeouts.
Where people can't just bow out. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I've always disliked that. Especially I'm a wrestler. I mean, shoot, you have to fight your teammate every week for your spot on the team.
For your spot, right? So that's where I went with it. I was like, man, I had to wrestle off when I was in 7th grade. It's like to weight class. There was 3 or 4 of us. It was like, oh no, we're wrestling off to see who's going in. Wednesday night match or whatever.
Yeah, it was getting too crazy where we'd be watching the finals and 4 of the whatever matches were closeouts. It's like, man, this stinks.
Yeah. And I think ultimately that it just comes from a place of trying to protect one's ego, where
definitely. For sure.
The guy that's higher up on the totem pole probably doesn't have the same skills as the guy underneath him, and he doesn't want to lose publicly. But it's like, dude, we're not here to prove who's toughest. We're here to become better. So let's, drop the ego and let's fight. So I'm a big fan of them having done that. And I mean, the Ruotolo brothers are willing to do it to each other, and we all should,
Yeah, they do not care. They will scrap.
He's like, they just tell each other like, I'm gonna choke you, like I'm darsing you or doing something to your own brother. It's fine.
I'm wondering if this no closeout thing is going to make people move weight classes a little bit.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure the big teams that like the big gi teams will have to get more strategic with who's in which weight class. And,
right. Do you train much gi anymore? I know you do a lot of no gi promote.
Yeah, very rarely.
Yeah.
I went to my friend Marcelo Cohn's grand opening, and I put a kimono on for that. But the only kimono I have with me right now is the one he gave me. And it's just everything I do is no gi. Yeah. And I suspect at some point I may return to training it in a bit. But for right now, I really want to focus on mastering no gi, and I'm sure there are advantages to training with it, in conjunction. But just the gym I'm at right now, no one really does it. So I suspect I'll just keep focusing on no gi.
Gotcha.
Not that he doesn't know how to do it in gi, everybody.
I'm
See,
pretty good in the gi.
Pretty good is an understatement.
Yeah.
So I would say,
I got
I level gi.
My buddy Quan Barbosa in 2018, he held me in worm guard for like 9 minutes. Yeah, that kind of killed it for me. It's just like running around, scrambling, having a good time, trying to submit people, and just getting held in there. And I had like this giant rash behind my leg too because I was deadlifting for 9 minutes, and it was just, I'd much rather have heel hooks over lapel guards, and that's kind of the give and take for gi versus no gi. Either you get heel hooks with one, or you get lapel guards. And it's like, man, I'd much rather have heel hooks. I think that makes for a far more entertaining match than the kimono. I would bet the stats would back that up too, that if you watch 10 no-gi matches or 10 gi matches, probably 5 of the no-gi will be interesting. We're probably only, 2 of the gi will be as interesting. Sure. At least from what I've seen. I think it leads to a slower game.
It does. I mean, everything that we watch, even from, when there's gi matches on Fight to Win with Flow and, Worlds and all that stuff, like you watch them, and sometimes even like I want to see jiu-jitsu, but I'm like, come on. But I'm strictly a gi guy. I mean, I can do no gi, and I've done it and trained in it, whatever. But, I'm strictly gi. It's good for me because I'm older. I can slow guys down.
I think a lot of that is, the rule set will dictate it a little bit too. I think IBJJF, you will have guys stall a little bit more, right? Because you do get advantages and that kind of stuff. But a lot of times too, it's just going to depend on the people. Like if John was in a gi match, you're still going to come after it. You're not going to change, So a lot of it is just, it's just that person. We see the Ruotolo brothers, gi or no gi, they're scrapping.
They're going.
Right. Mika Galvao, he's coming after it no matter what he's wearing.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it depends on the people too, but I see both sides of it.
That's probably training perspective too. Like it doesn't matter what you have on. It's like, it doesn't matter if I had street clothes on or whatever. Like I'm getting after this. Like this is what I'm doing. And as long as you're not being held in a position, obviously no gi, you're not being held in it. This is probably a dumb question. That just made me think about this John, when you brought up leg locks and stuff and heel hooks. Are they easier, deeper into a no gi match to get versus something else?
I mean, with heel hooks,
because of the sweating and stuff,
striking action. I'd probably say heel hooks are probably, of any of the leg locks, probably easier to get. Because if you go for a toe hold, you use your hands, that might slip, but heel hook, you should be able to strike in and get a tight bite because that's a sharp wrist bone. So probably heel hooks are the best when people are sweaty. But yeah, I'm not the huge leg lock specialist, but definitely I would say if you're trying to get a breakthrough, that'd probably be your best bet.
And just breaking it down in my brain as you brought it up earlier, and I was like, wait a minute, he's all like, this is something I want to navigate through this, because now I never really thought about it that way, because I do complain about people being all sweaty and stuff, and I'm like, like, dang it, come on, like just get a hold of them. You can't. It's like grabbing a piece of butter.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned something earlier about EBI rules, and Chad, I never asked you this. There's no ref?
Nope. Well, yes, there is, but they don't make any decisions on the match. They're just there,
safety wise, right?
Oh, okay.
If I were to tap in an armbar and the guy doesn't let go, the ref will hopefully step in there and break the submission.
Okay.
But, and then they also, when you do the EBI overtime, once I take somebody's back, the referee, if they know what they're doing, is going to put their knee on my back to push me forward. Because what I want to do on the back when I have that is I want to try to open up and extend their body. And if like I even did it a little bit at the match yesterday, like I locked my hands and then I moved my hands up just a little bit, because you always want to have your hands as high up as possible on their body. So that the ref needs to push the back player's shoulders forward so they don't get an unfair advantage off the beat.
So I wonder.
What I did. I walked my hands up.
Nice.
So Tom DeBlas just had, I think he had a student, and there was a hold like that, and the ref started it from the front, and the guy rear naked right away, instantaneously. Like it was no way he could fight out of it. The guy in front, that was locked. So that had the seatbelt on him, and Tom was reached out to the guy, whatever. He was a blue belt ref, and he made a mistake, and I didn't know this, and now I do know this, that technically that ref should have went to the back and pushed him with the knee forward. Okay. Wow. Okay. See, I learned something on the show all the time. It's one of the big reasons why I always wanted to do it, because I don't know that much about, I know a lot about jiu-jitsu, don't get me wrong, but there's stuff.
Well, with all these different rule sets, if you're not on top of it, man, it's tough. there's so many different rules on what you can, everybody's got some little tweak they want to add.
Yeah.
Which Chad's very good in our class, like every class, all the guys competing, comp class and everything. Hey, let's know the rule set going into this comp coming up or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, which I'm
you
sure,
don't want,
John, you do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know it now because you've been around for a while. So,
I think you got two rules or two things as a competitor is to make weight if you have to make weight and to know the rule set.
Yeah. Exactly.
Those are two things you should not mess up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you got a competition in 2 weeks?
Yeah. Against Jim Allers. It'll be at in Palmetto where Josh Leduca's organization called Sapatero, which is like Portuguese for foot cobbler. That's
nice. Okay.
Is that what it means? I didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Portuguese for foot cobbler because he loves his leg lock so much. And he's actually like, he's been doing promotions for, I hope this is either 8 to 10 years, even though he's like 27, he's been doing this for almost a decade.
Wow.
And, he's been making the right moves. He hasn't done massive shows off the bat, like Third Coast, they blasted out and did all these crazy events and spent all this money. And they exploded really quick. Mm-hmm. Whereas he's, moved a few steps forward at a time, done shows at his academy. And now he's at the point where he's got a 10K bracket with some of the best guys out there, like Giancarlo Bodoni, Ryan Aiken, Elder Cruz, my buddy Steve Joachim, like the whole bracket, like, what's his name? Hunter Colvin. Like, it's just a disgusting killer's field of people. And,
nice.
He's been putting in work consistently to get to this place. But yes, I'll have a super fight on that card against Jim Allers. And I'm also very excited. My friend, Jay Rigo Budo will be there to commentate too. So,
very cool, man.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So we have in Columbus, Ohio, my friend Dave Beaver is running the Twisted Church event, which is a filler for that event.
Oh,
so
wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So he just did a 10, 12 man. It was supposed to be a 16 man bracket and the winner gets to go to Florida to compete for 10 grand. So
heck yeah.
Yeah. So he's trying to get some big names up here in the Midwest in Ohio. So you have to keep an eye on it, John. Maybe we'll get you up here to compete.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. I'd love to, man. Yeah. My sister lives in Columbus. And,
nice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if you had family that came back to Ohio or stayed in Ohio or whatever. So, very cool. So so you still, I mean, not frequent here, but you still know you have some ties.
Well, when I was living in Detroit, I visited her a few times in Columbus.
Oh yeah.
And, I probably will aim to make another trip down to Columbus. Well, up to Columbus at some point. I'm in Florida now. So
yeah. Right. Yeah. You're where the orange state, nice and warm, and hey, it's warm here right now. I'm not gonna complain, everybody. So don't get on Terry for complaining about Ohio weather. I tend to do that. People are like, just move. I'm like, well, I like it where I'm at.
Yeah. Actually, I've been loving Florida because I listen a lot to the Huberman Lab podcast, and he's always strongly emphasizing that people should look at the rising and setting sun, just being outside. Don't look at the sun, but be outside during those times of the day. And shoot, here in Cali, I'm in SoCal right now. That stinking marine layer is hanging out till like 8 or 9, so you never get to see the lights, which is really important. Whereas in Florida, I see every sunrise and every sunset. It rains all day, every day, but it comes in waves, and like the sky is never completely blocked out. So you always get sunrises and sunsets, which is really important.
Cool.
And you don't get that everywhere
for sure. I was telling Chad, like when we were at Hilton Head this year, we go every year to Hilton Head. It's kind of like my place. I feel like I'm home there. And it was like that. The weather was very weird. It was like just mixed and very, very strange, but sunrise was great and sunset was great. Yeah. And there would be shelves. Like you would walk out to the beach, and we were right on the beach. It'd be all black on one side and then sun and over the ocean. And I was like, we're good. We're good. The kids are like, we're okay. And I was like, yeah, you're fine. Go ahead. Get in the ocean. Have a good time. It's important.
Yeah, no, it really is, man. Yeah. Helps set your circadian rhythm.
Yeah, definitely, man. And there's so much to that people don't. I think more people now put an emphasis, or they're emphasizing that more in their lives because they're understanding it more, or they're taking time to understand it, versus before it was like, that's a bunch of baloney. Like it's whatever this is telling me on TV. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, no, man, like chill out. When you started doing that more, John, did you get more out of your jiu-jitsu even?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was doing it consistently. Like I had this habit share thing. I work with a mental performance coach.
Nice.
I have a habit share thing that like it's a list of stuff, and I click on the day and I either press green or red. And I've made my bed like 30, 36, 37 days in a row. And after I do like make my bed, brush my teeth, go downstairs, I boil some water, juice a lemon, and then pop outside and do some reading out there.
Nice.
And and I get that done every day. And definitely has helped get me to bed at a consistent time too. Because normally I'll wake up without an alarm clock sometime between 5:30 and 6:30. And definitely the rising and setting sun consistently has helped, set me in a good rhythm, and definitely improved my jiu-jitsu, because definitely been doing things the past few months that I've been studying a lot, and finally actually applying it in training. Because, I had a long stretch of time where I was not training that much.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Very cool. Good stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Like, very good. Yeah, this is, we kept you an hour of your life that you're never getting back. You hung out with the LimitLess guys, Terry and Chad.
Well, engaging in conversation is an important thing, man. Like, that was definitely something I always struggled with a lot. I, never the most social guy. And I think a lot of jiu-jitsu folks are like that, kind of the nerds and outcasts of this world. And, when I was in Colorado during college, I worked at a restaurant, and just, I was a back waiter. So I would greet people, give them some water, give them bread, and take their plates. But like just saying hi to people, 400 times in a night, like that consistent doing the awkward, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm John, helping you out. Yeah, that's great. I'll be your server. Just doing that again and again and again. Finally got me up to speed with actually, interacting with people, holding a conversation, keeping your eyes in between this little triangle here, and, trying to actively listen and do all the little ins and outs of social interaction, which, not all of us come with the playbook set. We kind of learn how to do it as we go forward.
Yeah. 100%. I was very much like that. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah. Well, I think even with our young kids now, I see it at the gym. We still have, we'll call it a karate program at the gym. It's really just some jujitsu, kickboxing, and some self-defense, but lack of eye contact, right?
Yeah.
We have I'm always at the front desk greeting people, parents, when they come in. Hey, how you doing? I'll say hi to the kids, and they just walk by.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, man, I said hi. Look at me when, you got to kind of stop them. Look at me, say hi. That's all I'm asking for. It's not a conversation right now. Yeah. But man, when we were growing up, I know it was always you looked at somebody when they were speaking to you.
Yeah. It's these damn phones, man. It's all this technology.
It's a big thing.
They don't know what it is to grow up without it. It's just there. Right.
Yeah.
I remember when I have twin boys that are 18 now, but when they were younger, we went to like an arcade, when arcades started kind of coming back. And they had the video games we grew up playing, and they're like, Dad, these suck. What are the graphics on these? And they're playing, their iPads are better, which they are, but just, you don't know when you don't have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of this technology, like most young guys' social interaction is probably hopping on Call of Duty at night, and putting a headset on, and rather than like going out to a creek and, poking things with sticks, and actually learning how to, interact with, face to face. We have such little time when people are actually, interacting with, in terms of kids growing up. Like, I bet there's way more time spent in video games and looking at Instagram and using your phone for other stupid things, as opposed to like doing stuff with people, which is what the brain's supposed to do. And if it doesn't develop right. Yeah. I definitely had my fair share of experiences with that,
Sure.
But it's definitely a crisis, man. A lot of people just don't have those skills built up in terms of interacting with people, and to we as a society don't put a huge amount of emphasis on that. But it's definitely a huge thing that we all be working towards, because if we stop talking to each other, we don't have society anymore. And
exactly, 100%. Yeah. It's funny too. Like, and my kids are 8, 12, and 14. And they will ask me anytime I'm around anybody, if they have a name tag on it, for route or whatever, I always use their name right away. I'll look at their name. Hey, thank you or whatever, carry on a little bit of a conversation with them or whatever. And they're like, did you know them? And I go, I knew them just now. Like, but that's what you have to do. Like, they want to be treated well, and I want them to treat me well. And I know the old saying, like, oh, treat people the way you want to be treated, but I want you to engage with them. Like, they're not trying to be mean to you. That's their job right there in front of them. So make them feel like they're doing great at their job, and talk to them, treat them like a human being, not that they're just there to get a paycheck, or do whatever. And I'll do that in general now, even more. Same thing like you, like John, I just met you today, but I want like the best for you. And I just want to have a great conversation with you. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you're a good dude. I'm a good dude. Like, look, man, like, it's not like, oh, hey, how you doing? Turn my head down and walk away. You know what I mean? Which, teaching our younger generation, that is very hard because of the technology that we live in and the stuff that they see and reels. My daughter, my 12-year-old daughter is like Reel Central. She's like, oh, look at this, Dad. Go to the next one. And I'm like, oh, slow down. Like, slow down. Like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah, I did hear something about how TikTok like changed people's attention spans.
Oh, for sure.
It's so bad.
Yeah, and like YouTube's algorithm has shifted to account for that too. Which
is
really interesting.
I actually read an article on that. Like it shifted to account for that ability.
Isn't that wild, man? All this crazy evolution that we've gone just in like 20 years, right?
Right.
From freaking, what was it? MySpace or whatever.
MySpace,
yeah. It's where we're at now. It's insane.
Yeah,
it's crazy. That's where, like in the jiu-jitsu world, people are like, oh, I saw this on, I saw it on Facebook Reels, or I saw it on YouTube Reel, or, whatever platform they're looking on. And I'm like, what did you learn? Like you watched it for like, there's only 30 seconds there. Like you're not pulling that move ever unless you do this a million times. Like, so, but that's my 2 cents on it. There are people out there that can do it and I get it. And that's completely fine. You guys keep doing what you're doing. I support you, so with that, I don't want to diminish anyone what they're doing. I just don't like reels because I think they're funny. Funny reels are great. I can laugh my butt off at people. I could do goofy stuff, but
well, it's got its place. Like social media can do some things really well. It can entertain you. It can teach you some stuff, but all of the like comparing yourself to others. Like I do know that social media has been incredibly hard on like young girls, like teenage girls. They're very vulnerable to being excluded. And they compare themselves to each other a lot. And that's like the whole idea of what social media is for. And, you got to use your tools the right way, and you shouldn't be using Instagram for that. But that's, that's most of what we use it for, right? Look at booty pics. And, that's, probably should be different brands of social media for the different things you're trying to do. So like, well, at least in my opinion. So if a kid were to be on there, he could be on a strictly educational product as opposed to getting distracted by that. But that's probably not going to be happening anytime soon, but I'm sure you could put some parental blocker on it or something. But it would be nice to, have a few different areas, I guess you could say, or specialties in that. So, people aren't getting, blasted with the, self-aggrandizing, comparing themselves to others, the Kardashian stuff, all the celebrity culture that we have.
And that's what I'll do with like, none of my kids are on social media. That's my hard no. The cell phone for my 14 and 12-year-old was already like, all right, but I can monitor them. We're through Apple, so I can keep track of everything that they're doing and all that, which is good. But I call them up. I don't call them out. I call them up because I will always challenge them. I'm like, hey, what do you guys look at? Like, you're looking at this. Why don't you you guys are interested in that? Why don't you go watch some videos on that? Or why don't you like pull or show me something cool about that you're talking about right now? And so, that's a homestead thing too, where parents can get used to that or get into that thing. I'm the algorithm right now until they start building the algorithms in, which I'm with you, John. Like I would love that the algorithms to be built in right now. Algorithms for me are like, oh, you want these new pair of shoes? And I'm like, maybe I do. You want this new gadget that's going to make you awesome? I do. I'm 45. I need to be cool. I'm not a cool dad right now. So I'm just joking. Everyone out there that's maybe sells their products that way. I would sell my products that way too if I could. But it's all good. Well, hey man, why don't you do this, John? We always love to, typically towards the end of the show, we'll give your, not that any of this wasn't your time, but tell us, man, where everyone can find you, how to get in contact with you, what you're up to, anything that you would want to shout out from a sponsoring, like anyone that sponsors you, if you want to shout them out, always put them in all the show notes. That way people can get at them and get at you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. Shout my sponsors first, Level X Black, they make some of the finest, sharpest apparel in the game. Been a steadfast supporter of mine for a long time. And then Penguin Fingers, they make cold compresses for your fingers, especially if you're training in the gi. Really good thing. They're like a little compression sleeve and then you slip your finger inside of it. So that's really good if you have your hurt fingers. And then, North River Jiu-Jitsu, obviously where I train. And Yeah, apart from that, I'm going to be doing some seminars in Florida, at one in Gracie Bradenton, and then competing then too. And then I'll probably be in Vegas, mid-September, to do the ADCC Open. That's probably what the next big thing for me on the horizon is.
Awesome.
Nice. I'm so glad you brought up the ADCC in Vegas as well, because I was going to ask you, but I didn't know if you were if that was on the horizon. So I was like, well, I'll let him bring it up himself.
I'll be there, but probably didn't, if I'd had a really good performance yesterday, like if I had managed to defeat PJ, then
Sure.
I'd say the odds of me being the alternate are certain. But, at this point, there are a couple guys that are probably like Chris Wojcik and a few other guys that have done well recently.
Sure.
That may well get that alternate position because I believe Seth said that Seth Daniels, a fight to win, that the odds of people dropping out because of visa concerns is very high. So there probably will be several alternates in the division. So, I'll be prepared. I'll be ready.
Good.
No mistake. But I would say yesterday was my job interview, and sadly the interview didn't go that great. So, moving on forward and just going to keep doing what I do.
Awesome, man. We'll please keep doing what you're doing, man. It's what we're seeing on, obviously, in your comps and on social media. You're on it, brother. And I'm glad to hear that you're healing and that you're healed. That you're feeling better than you were, and that, you're on your consistent path where you want to be. Wish you nothing but luck, man. God bless you and everything that you're doing. And keep us posted. If you need anything, if you need something, whatever, if you need something, contact, hey man, I need this, whatever. We'll go from there. Good. Anything, Chad, you got anything, brother?
No, I'm glad you shout out. I've never met him, obviously, the guy from Penguin Fingers.
Yeah.
So we do a charity seminar every year for cancer and donate the money and everything. And he usually sends product for us to give away.
Oh, wow.
Terry and I also have a finger tape company called LimitLess Tape.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, so I just,
right there.
Yeah, right there.
A little sticker right there.
Yeah.
So we
right
actually,
there,
Nice.
so we actually just sent him some LimitLess Tape. He's going to send him some fingers. Yeah, look at that. We're gonna kind of do a trade thing and see if we can kind of co-promote, co-promote our product together somehow.
Foster, the guy who owns it.
Foster, that's it.
Yeah, Foster is. Yeah. So I just mailed him. Got his, I got his address and stuff. I just mailed him some tape. I think last week. So yeah.
He's out in Boulder. Yeah, we both black belts under Amal, and he was.
He is too. Okay, I didn't know he was a black belt under Amal too. Okay, that's awesome, man.
So is Seth Daniels. Yeah. We are.
I didn't know Seth was. Okay.
Yeah.
It's very cool. See, not that small world, but we do talk. And I was very naive to this, like getting into jiu-jitsu, because I was like, oh, it's huge, and everyone's like, no, actually, the jiu-jitsu community is kind of small.
Super small.
Super small.
It's like I didn't know this until now that I'm in. Then I'm like, I found a bunch of brothers and sisters that I never knew I had, because that's very much how it happens, Yeah. But that's awesome.
Though. I can't believe we're filling a 12,000 person stadium for the ADCC. That's
going to be amazing, isn't it?
How amazing is that going to be, just from a crowd standpoint, and like those matches, those top matches? Like, there's going to be so many fans. It's going to be something we've never seen before in this sport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm wondering. Obviously, it's going to be on Flow, right?
Oh,
that's pretty. Yeah. So I wonder though. With that being said, I've had a Flow membership forever, but I think you can only buy it for a year now. They don't do the monthly thing. I wonder if they've thought about, or if they're going to do a pay-per-view for ADCC. I mean, that would be
like, it would sell, man.
I think that goes against their business model.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah,
as many people in there as they can. Like I don't know. I think Flow does a good job. They've done outrageous amounts to support me, so I'm grateful beyond words for that. Sure. But it's just because I used to, when there would be a good event, when they offered the membership, right, the monthly, you'd pay $20 and cancel it. So I'm sure, like you said, their business model is a little different. They want you as a reoccurring member, which I get. Running a business myself, you want those reoccurring members.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, rent income's great.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm a Flow. I'm just like, whatever. It's auto. It's auto year now. I'm like, I'm not getting rid of it. It's too good. And look at the match that's coming up, and look at the the match we just had, and then the card that's coming up here soon. With Gordon at the top there, and that'll be.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a fun one, man.
That whole card is stacked. I mean, every match is going to be a great match to watch, unless it's like a 30-minute match. So I'm going to say that out loud, everybody. I'm just
We'll
kidding.
see.
It'll be
You
great.
never know. Like that Ty and Mika match that had a lot of hype behind it wasn't that entertaining. But that's what happens a lot when it's two of the best guys in the game.
Exactly.
For sure.
You don't want to give up much. So it happens.
Yeah.
It has to. And I think it has to be that way, right?
Yeah.
Like as a competitor, you would do that, John, right? Like you would.
Yeah. No.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Good stuff, man. Well, brother,
Cool.
take care, man. Keep doing what you're doing and we'll catch up down the line. All right.
Yes, Terry. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And yeah, hope you guys keep kicking butt there in Canton. And yeah. Hopefully I'll be able to make swing my way through. I know Josh does go to Ohio pretty consistently.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Anytime you're in Ohio, brother, you got to reach out and be like, hey, I'm in. We'll get you in and try to get a seminar. The boss over there. So I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just saying that. Dad's going to be like, great. No, just kidding. He runs the gym, not me. All right, man.
Cool.
Take it easy, brother.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Yes, Chad. Great talking, guys. Y'all have a great rest of your night.
You
You too,
brother.
man. Later.
Cheers.